Entering the dining hall causes me so much confusion. It is dark. For a moment, I thought the electric work is not up to par. But that clearly is not the case, as every other room is bright with artificial light. Fuck me. Finding the light switch is a monumental task considering the size and my unfamiliarity with the room. To make matters worse, the darkness grants the room a different atmosphere, eerie and frightening. It takes longer than I thought to find the switch, something that will have to be resuffled later on. My skin, oh god, starts to prickle, and there is the distinct feeling of being watched. It unsettles me, and only spurs me on in my search. And when I do open the lights, there is a hiss.
I'll turn the lights down, woman!
There, at the end of hall, is my beloved husband with his face in one hand and a glass in the other. Perhaps I can let it go if it's only one glass of wine. However, I can feel myself go livid after seeing the toxic green liquid gleam mockingly at me.
Luke, what? Are you drinking absinthe?
Absinthe. Oh.
You know what the doctor said. Absinthe, Luke. Are you actively trying to kill yourself? Because if you are, we can just hit you with a bloody car.
Damn.
Honeybee, Buttercup, not too loud, please.
He's still drinking despite his health. You should die.
Besides, it's Lelouch, not too strong. Just hair of the dog that bit me.
What does that mean?
Helps with the hangover, dearest.
You drank? When?
This morning, love. Don't be mad. I just needed a few drinks, having to deal with those simpletons. And maybe I had one too much. You don't see me whinging about you leaving me to handle them on my own.
I had to attend the photo shoot and interview with Luxury Living. You know that. Let's not make this about me, Luke. This is about you and your drinking problem and...
Oh, I don't know, Hana, darling. What if my drinking problem, as you like to call it, is linked to you?
Excuse me?
If we think about it that way, this discussion is about you. That was pretty mean of you, leaving me alone to do all the work like that.
Can I slap him? Is there an option?
You can't use the interview as an excuse either, honey. I was informed the moment your little interview was done. So, what was it then, What were you doing?
What's it gonna be? Should I tell the truth or tell a little lie? Fuck him, I was with Zach.
I was talking with Zachary, the photographer for Luxury Living.
Yep, that went down. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no reason to tell lies. It's not like I am guilty of anything. But as Luke's expression turns, he makes me feel like I actually am to blame for something. He has a way of making me laid bare with just a look. That had really struck me when we first met years ago.
That giant Negro?
Well, at least he didn't say the ER.
You were having a secret meeting behind my back and it was with him?
What are you implying?
I'm implying nothing. I'm just worried. You know better than to trust those media types, Buttercup. He must have been really friendly to occupy your time like that. But all he's looking for is his next big headline.
He's a photographer for an interior design magazine.
Doesn't matter. You let one little thing slip, one wrong move, and it'll blow up in the telly in the morning. He'll go to his journalist friends to gossip and make a quick quid.
His eyes were the first thing I noticed about him. They were like nature, the grass and the trees, wonderful and breathtaking. Now, as I look at him, they're nothing but the same shade of green as the bloody damn drink in his hand.
He was a perfect gentleman, Luke.
Ooh.
I can't say the same for you as of recent.
Ooh.
Excuse me again? We're talking about you, Hana.
No, I am pretty sure we were talking about you and your drinking problem, Luke, right?
Hangover forgotten during the course of this little spat, the man jumps to his feet and sees. Oh. It looks like he is barely stopping himself from throwing the nearest thing he could find.
Oh, it is not a problem. I can stop whenever I want.
Oh?
And even if it was, I think you can very well stay out of it, as it only affects my own kidneys or liver or whatever the bloody hell that shite pollutes. Whatever aftermath that occurs because of your little chit-chat with the Negro affects the both of us, however.
Look, Luke, nothing will happen. You have to relax. It was just a friendly chat.
Well, now I think I'm getting jealous. Or I would be if it weren't for this damn headache.
Maybe you should drink more.
Maybe.
Supper is spent in silence with nothing but the occasional sound of silverware. A grand feast has been served, well, grander than usual anyway, most likely due to Luke's complaints of stress. Ooh, that looks good. A platter of native oysters for starters, and tranche of turbot with purple sprouting broccoli, lemon, capers, and avocado sauce for mains. To finish it all off, black tea and golden syrup sponge pudding with custard. But when our appetites are appeased and the plates are cleared away, Luke stands, kisses me goodnight, and leaves me to stare at my half-empty cup. Lonely in the lull of night, I sit in a house too big and too empty, foreign and unwelcoming. Even with its warm tone and homely decor, it feels cold. There is no need for tears, however. I know I can get through this, like every other obstacle I have faced before. This is a minor setback in what I hope will be a long and happy life. To remind myself that this place is for Luke and for our future children fills me with a renewed vigor. Besides, it looks like someone is having a cry already. What? The wailing is far away and muffled. Yet, at the same time, it shakes me to my very core as I hear it. As if the suffering is just standing right beside me. Hearing it sends a chill down my spine and makes my skin prickle with goosebumps. Oh no, please don't turn. Who is that? Fuck you! Curiosity sinks in as I follow the sorrowful sound into the kitchen and into the wine cellar hatch.
Hello? Is anybody down there?
Do not open it! Do not fucking open it! I'm gonna open it! I am curious and concerned, but there is no way I am going down into a dark and humid underground. I'm not as enthusiastic as Luke, who considers himself quite the connoisseur. if that's how you pronounce it. However, I also cannot bring myself to go to bed with this racket going on. If it is one of the household help, they will surely need some talking. After all, this wouldn't be the first time I'd gone and found one of the maids sobbing their eyes out over one thing or another. As professional as our staff are, they are still human. More often than not, it was either Illness or I who calmed them down, who helped them figure out how to go on about things. Unfortunately, I am not in high spirits right now, so I'm not as wholly benevolent. So I will call them out. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Shit. She needs help. Don't just stand there. Do something. I may not be going down, but there's no point in talking through closed doors. Or hatches in this case. The thing refuses to budge at first, until there is a soft click, and it easily swings free. As I lift up the hatch and look down into the cellar, a sense of uneasiness washes over me. Fuck! I'm wearing headphones, this is not gonna go well. It isn't just the sudden onset of vertigo and nausea, but also the darkness. It's suffocating. And as I look down, it feels as if it's looking back at me. I worry that something will suddenly pull me into the deep. I can hear her whispering. I'm taking my... Jesus. Calling for me. She wants me. Needs me. She wants to drown me, pull me down, and suffocate me in her embrace until I sink to the bottom. A deep abyss awaits, inviting, yet forbidding. She's calling to me from in there, isn't she? And I do want to help. I do. But the shadows threaten to creep out, and a feeling of apprehension keeps me in place. Already, it paints the room in a darker light. This is like the dream, all over again. Why is it so? There is a hook in my stomach as well, but this time, it doesn't pull me back. Instead, it pulls me forward. There is a little lurching sensation, and the feeling that follows after is hard to explain. It feels like I'm watching myself from the sidelines, a specter to my actions or lack therefore. I willed myself to snap out of this detached feeling, to move, to do anything except stare at myself. And for a moment, I see the look of fear in my own face. I'm back in my body, but the hook in my stomach is no longer the only one. There are hooks everywhere, tearing and pulling at my skin, flesh and bones. They pull at me in every direction and it hurts. It hurts so much, but I just can't bring myself to scream out.
Help me.
Wait, what? Oh shit! What? A? What is this? Oh, that could have been bad. Like, I don't know if accepting, like, succeeding in the QuickTime takes is succeeding in the QuickTime events is a good thing. Like, yeah, you accomplished beating it, but what will it do to the story? That's what I'm afraid of. I wake from a deep slumber. It takes a while with the fog that has settled in my head and with my heavy limbs. But soon enough, I manage to look around. I'm in our bedroom already, although I do not recall going here. Luke slumbers beside me, looking peaceful and angelic. It doesn't matter. I'm safe and I feel better than ever. Tomorrow, better days will come. Luke is already gone by the time I rise. There isn't a single hide or hair of him to be found, and trying to call him on his mobile is a bust, as it only goes straight to his voicemail. That's twice in a row he's gone on me. And for him to disappear today, of all days, is every bit upsetting because of what's to come. The morning is once again filled with a whirlwind of activity. Fortunately, I am much more refreshed as I took a break from my responsibilities. I haven't the faintest clue where Luke was yesterday. Today is going to be a busy day, although unlike Wednesday, the master of the house isn't here right now, absent once again from his duties. Hopefully, he'll be back in time for the party. This is our house after all. A grand housewarming party for the wonderful Wright mansion. Every person of importance from Luxborn is invited, and there will be a few guests flying in as well. Of course, there will be some people from the media, along with friends and acquaintances who are made no less important regardless of their status in society. Marianne and I discuss business and last-minute touches to the house before finalizing everything. Not that there is much change from our original plans. Bar any huge additions to the property itself, the mansion is nearly 100% complete.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Well, I can't take all of the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Luke and I had a small tiff about making the second bedroom into a child's playroom, which I insisted is practically practical. In the end, he had to acquiesce. I didn't give him any choice in the matter. I even bought this wonderful wooden crib from the antique store yesterday, including some toys. Just in case anyone brings their baby, of course. Besides, we have little need for actual guest rooms. We hardly have guests who spend the night. If we absolutely have to, we often choose to foot the bill of their visit on one of our hotels instead, always at Luke's own insistence. And on the off chance that we actually let someone stay, the bedroom in the opposite wing is still up to the task.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
No, I did not agree to him having a helipad.
All right then. Well, do we have any other concerns? Anything we need to put on our agenda before the party commences?
No, I don't think so. Not unless Luke has anything else to say.
Is he around then? It'd be best if we can note down his request right away, considering the scope of his usual ones.
Around? No. Where is he? Who knows where? I don't.
No, he's not around.
She didn't have to point out the obvious now, did she? After 7 long years, I've already gotten used to him. I should be by now. Still not, apparently.
But don't you have a party?
I want nothing more than to complain, to ring about how unfair this is. However, airing out one's dirty laundry is simply taboo among high society. To do so will make you a ripe target for the next dinner party chit-chat. Vultures, the lot of them really. Or most of them at least. There are always good ones like Rochelle Lee, but put your trust in the wrong person and you'll find yourself eagerly picked apart.
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting, he's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
Perhaps I am being a bit too rash, a bit too hot-headed in the vulgar in details, but I thought myself clever with the plan to dress it up as gossip. Marianne's raised brow make me unsure whether she is interested or not. Although that does make things better if she has no interest and therefore has no hidden intent to utilize whatever I might say to her.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband. But it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
What do I think of the matter, ma'am?
Story updated. Huh. I wonder how this will go.
No, what do you think of my hair? It feels so lifeless and dull today, and that's no good for a party. And I think I'm breaking out into zits.
Now that you mention it, there is something different.
There better not be something on my face.
I wouldn't worry about that. You do look a little paler than usual, ma'am. I apologize if I'm crossing any lines here, but have you been resting properly?
No.
Huh. You'd think I get a bit tanned with how sunny it's been lately. Don't you worry. I feel right as rain and never better. But back to the matter at hand.
You were asking for my personal opinion on the matter, ma'am? Do you want me to be honest, or...
Do I want her to be honest? Is honesty professional? Is the thing. I kind of want to figure that out.
Be honest with me, Marianne. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it.
Real talk. Okay, apparently we raised up a bit.
I'm not some fragile thing that I'm just going to break down at the slightest thing.
She hesitates, taking a sip of her coffee while I stare into my own cup of tea. The silence stretches on, and I almost believe that she will never answer my question. I suppose that I shouldn't blame her, putting her in a tight spot like this. Her hesitation is understandable, though I loathe to admit it. She simply wants this whole thing to stay professional. But then, she speaks.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
It's my turn to hesitate now. I really didn't expect such a straightforward question. And to get to the heart of the matter, I suppose I'm not as clever as I like to think. She's smart. Or is it really that bad that an outsider can see our little Marshall troubles? Surely, We aren't that obvious, are we? We put up the act of a perfect couple for years, although it hadn't always been an act. Marianne is just more keen than the average person, of course. It is a necessity to her career, and she's been working so closely with us. Yes, that's it.
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle. But, if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Someone who won't even give him the time of the day. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. That's just my 2 pence worth, of course.
So you're saying they should divorce?
Nothing as drastic as that. If they're afraid that it might lead to just that, then maybe that is what's meant to happen in the first place.
Ooh.
We shouldn't let our fear control our lives. But it's just a short hiatus is all. Or, couples therapy? Look, I'm really not the best person to ask about relationships. So grain of salt and all that.
She trails off, having said her... That is not the right use for piece, by the way. Having said her piece, and leaves nothing but the small... small. Now I'm adding something. But the smell of coffee and Earl Grey between us. There is a calm, despite the nature of what has just been discussed. To say that her words make me start to think is an understatement. To say that I'm not considering her advice is a lie. And to say that this might just be the calm before the storm is a possibility. Others have had shorter marriages, yes, but plenty have celebrated long and happy ones as well. My own parents celebrated their choral anniversary before they passed away. Oh. But 7 years? 7 years isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It isn't a whole lot of time to see what and where our relationship can bring us. And at the same time, 7 years. Well, it hasn't been entirely made up of unhappy years, has it? It won't last forever. It's not supposed to anyway. I just dread the thought that it might last for a very long time. I dread the thought that these small spats, these little disagreements, will turn into an all-out resentment. The idea that we will grow to hate each other with every fiber of our being scares me. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when our blissful union turned sour. When did he start to seek other women, lacking any ulterior motives? When did we start to cooperate only to suit our materialistic greed and attention-seeking ways? Money and success, fame and glamour. Are those the only reasons we still stay together? There is a cough before Marianne clears her throat. I must have been quiet for so long, and I'm moved to apologize when she stands up. We both end up on our feet, unsure on how to proceed. Some sort of odd, awkward shuffle occurs as we decide whether to sit back down or not.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
I'll try to stay and chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
Yeah.
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive. Because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Ooh, journal updated. The scene outside the parlor is a great organized mess. Aside from our own household help, we hired the service of the temp agency, which provides staff for Wright Enterprise in the hospitality sector. That's how you said it. Even our very skilled staff cannot undertake a party of this size on their own. Waiters, busboys, hostesses, and their staff captains move about in droves, carrying crockery and serveware, good for several dozen people and then some. Chefs and bartenders tail after Honus, looking like scared little children, as he escorts them through the kitchen and into the wine cellar to peruse the stocks to select what can be served at the party and what can be used for cooking.
Snell! We have a lot to do, and I believe we did not hire snails. Snails are for the dishes.
Oh. A string quartet readies up to play for the evening, tuning their instruments as they fill the air with idle chatter. Forlor decor worth thousands fill vases, raves, and baskets, while petals are scattered along the driveway up front. An ice sculpture of a reindeer is brought in carefully by a pair. It is followed by a simple cake, just a 5-tier white chiffon one with white chocolate, mousse, fresh berries, and a light dusting of edible gold leaf. But despite the fact that I told Marianne how I will attend to all of this, I find myself unable to focus or care for any of it. I still have our discussion running in my mind, and looking at all of this, I only see Luke everywhere. These are all the grand things that Luke wanted to have for the party. I had wanted a small, elegant, and simple gathering, with only a select few invited, namely the people who I would actually trust to enter my home. I did not want any bloody politicians or paparazzi in here, no matter how used I am to catering them.
At least be here for your party. Damn it, Luke.
The entire thing screamed Luke Wright, and I can't help but add another question to my growing list of queries. When did I lose myself? It's always about him nowadays, isn't it? What about Hannah Wright? What about Hannah Evans? I used to be my own woman, who made her own name, her own career, her own decisions. Sure, I was already the social butterfly that I still am today, but it wasn't all empty, shallow gossip and sitting pretty. I was also loud for my knowledge and talent. Finance manager wasn't just handed to me, just because my father owned the company. I had insisted that I start at the bottom so I could work my way to the top and prove myself. And I did. I worked numbers, managed budgets, money and accounts, analyzing the competition and market trends. There was the calculation of financial risk, cost reduction opportunities, Abdur Illison, I think, and public relations, supervision of staff, and, well, I generally had a huge slew of responsibilities. Admittedly, I was already quite the attention seeker even back then, having dedicated most of my youth craving for my parents' approval. Failing that, I turned to others, looking for praise from anyone who would give it, however fleeting it all was. And Luke. Oh, Luke, the way he looked at me, the way he watched me and took a genuine interest. He had me disgustingly obsessed since day one, hasn't he? He saw me for me, Hannah Evans, with both my faults and my achievements. The man didn't treat me like some damsel in distress or some prize to be won. I remember the nights before we were married where we talked about everything and anything, from big things like business, society, and philosophy, to little things such as what we had for breakfast or whether we like cats or dogs more. We both prefer dogs. Nowadays, I'm just Luke Wright's wife. It's mostly my fault, isn't it? They told me that husbands preferred wives who are docile and subordinate. A woman who will always be there for him, yet would never outshine him in all aspects except beauty. A wife needs to be at home and attend to his needs, to have children, and to take care of them in his absence. They said I have no business of working anymore after I was married. I can blame society, but I listened. Before I can fall further into this introspect pit of self-loathing, someone called for my attention.
The guests have arrived, madam.
And Luke?
Running a bit late, I'm afraid.
Late for his own party. That man, I swear. He's probably looking to make a dramatic entrance, knowing him. Open the doors then. We mustn't tarry.
Okay, I'm getting ready for the party then.